Now that brings us neatly to today's guest, who is a writer, a broadcaster, a comedian whose podcast has been downloaded over 500 million, 500 many times. Let's put it that way. He's written many books, and his latest, A Beginner's Guide to Breaking and Entering, is out in paperback just in time for the summer holidays, because this is the book that you will want to include in your bag when you're on the move. We'll explain all in a moment, but welcome, Andrew Hunter Murray. Nice to meet you, and
Hello.
Thanks for coming to the show today.
Thanks for having me.
We were having a lovely conversation about satire and lack of, depending on what part of the world you live in. But let's talk about A Beginner's Guide to Breaking and Entering, please. This is a terrific book. This is something that you've been working away quietly on in one of the places in which it's set, at least featuring in it. So why don't you give us the pitch and we'll take it from there.
Okay, A Beginner's Guide to Breaking and Entering. It's about a young guy. He's called Al, and he lives in lovely, beautiful, empty second homes when the real owners are away. That's his shtick. He's very good at it. He doesn't break anything. He doesn't steal anything. He's kind of like a luxury squatter, you know? These homes are going empty. There's no harm done to anyone. So, and, he has a system. He has lots of rules he follows. That's the beginner's guide element, dozens of rules all the way through the book. And this story is about what happens when he breaks into the wrong house on the wrong day. Somebody ends up dead. Not his fault, I should stress.
Yes.
He didn't want any part of this. And then it ends up, it's one of those escalating chaos stories, He's met some other people who do the same kind of thing as him. And the police are interested, and the people who committed the murder are interested, and they they have to solve this thing from the inside while avoiding being caught by anyone. So it's a caper.
Where did it come from? Because, as you say, a caper in the old school way, which is lovely, but also there's things to be solved and problems to be fixed. Where did it come from in your head? I'm fascinated to know. Was it the housing crisis? Was it?
It's a bit of that. I like writing about things which are based on the real world. I mean, I used to write Sci-Fi as well. I've written a couple of those, but things that are rooted in reality. And for young people in the UK today, the housing crisis is a huge thing. It affects your stability. It affects your prospects in life. It's a massive sort of burden. If you can't afford a home of your own, it's a big problem. Yeah. And this is a way of kind of dealing with it, which I don't want to say makes it fun, but. Yeah. This is a caper set in that world, and it's trying to point out some of the kind of madness of that situation along the way.
The best of satire. I mean, the same situation in Ireland with the housing crisis, and I'm fortunate enough because I'm of an age, but younger people, for sure, are facing into a life as a generation for the first time, who may or may never own their own home, and they're mystified by it and they're annoyed by it. Yeah,
and it's random. If you're lucky, and maybe your parents can help you out, then you might get lucky enough and get a deposit and kind of scramble on the ladder.
Which isn't.
And if not, but that is chance. That's not a way to run a country. So it's it's kind of coming. I wanted to do a little bit about that, but crucially to make a story that would be thrilling and fun and interesting along the way. And where it came from is there are a few different routes to it, but one of them is I read something about in France they have these swimming pool thieves, like squatters, young people turn up at your rural France has all these swimming pools dotted around. And people just decide, right, we're going there today, and they just turn up at the swimming pool. They have a pool party. They have a great time in someone's house. And it's not illegal enough to arrest anyone, so they just get away with it. So that was one thing where it came from. And then the other thing, I think my wife and I were walking around where we lived in South London during lockdown, because nothing else to do. And it was the Christmas lockdown, very festive. And we were in Stockwell, and we lived next to Clapham, which has a load of gorgeous houses. And we walked past, and people just had their curtains right open. These people are allergic to curtains who own these lovely homes. So we were just looking in thinking, God, that's nice, isn't it? Do you think we could get in there?
I love that.
And so it started with a little bit of wish fulfillment,
I love that. And as you say, I love that expression, it just wasn't illegal enough.
Yeah.
That's a great way of putting it. You can imagine the gendarme in front going, I want to arrest you, but I've nothing here to say why.
I mean, all the paperwork, not worth it.
So the origin story is really lovely because... obviously, I can't even say COVID. It's like the...
I know. We've all forgotten. Let's move on. Yeah.
But at that time, let's call it that time, without triggering too much, you and your wife walking through it. And it was a time of imagination and fantasy because it's, in many ways, it's all we had. Yeah. So you're looking through the window going, what if... they often say about Bono that, or at least Bono said the difference between, say, somebody from America and somebody from this part of the world is that they see the beautiful house on the hill, And in America, they go, someday I'm going to work my butt off and I'm going to have that house. But if you're from this part of the world, they look up at the house and they go, I hate that person for living in that house. It's not
there's a lot
fair,
of that.
isn't it?
A lot of that about.
So you're looking through the window, as we all do. We're kind of looking through, going, "They're so lucky."
And I wanted to create a character who could just get in through the window and have a great time and live there unharmed.
And do you see him as an anti-hero of some sort?
No, he's just an outright hero for me. I mean, he's definitely breaking the law. You know, he's very naughty. He's very cheeky. I can't dislike him too much, because. Where's the harm? Genuinely, where's the harm? He even repairs any damage he does breaking in. He prides himself on this meticulous, old school craftsman approach he has to breaking into houses.
Yes.
I know that. I've been burgled. It's horrible. That's not what Al's doing. That's what I'm trying.
Yeah. Before you start cancelling Andrew, this is a satirical look. It's not a manual or
not a how-to. It is helpful, I think, if you're trying to get into the game yourself. Yeah.
It could be of you. You mentioned your work before, and dystopia is of interest to you because you talk about the near future and what might be. Your brain clearly goes for a lot of what-ifery. Yeah,
that's true. The line I sometimes trot out is I did the end of the world twice and then I did the London housing market, something really scary. I grew up reading a lot of sci-fi and that kind of thing, so that's been the other half of my reading life. I read a lot of crime and thrillers and classics. I'll read pretty much anything.
But can we talk about that in a minute? Because your shelves are intriguing. I was and also because I don't.
Have you seen my shelves?
I have. I've got visions, and I don't read sci-fi. So I'd love to get your take on what that's like. I also want to know what you think of romantasy, and I also want to talk to you a bit about your work with Private Eye magazine, which is so iconic. And I want to talk a bit about QI. Don't go anywhere, please. Rona and Pink Pony Club, myself and Andrew Hunter Murray, our guest today, and author of the wonderful Beginner's Guide to Breaking and Entry. We're just chatting. We've bounced through, as you said, we're two unusual fellas here because we both read fiction, lots of it, as we've been comparing notes, and we read women, which is again not that common. As Adele Park said to me one day, I was talking to her, the crime writer, upstairs one day. We were doing a chat, and I said, what is it about men? Why don't men read more women? And she said, because they're weak.
Oh, that's not fair.
I think she was just saying that sometimes men are afraid to read women for some weird reason. But you you got a recommendation this morning from somebody.
The Wager.
The Wager. And you asked me, what am I reading? What would I recommend to you? I said The Wager by David. So you're going to have to pick it up when you're way
I will.
What's your favourite bookshop in the land?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, Waterstone's Piccadilly is kind of the flagship,
There's like 5 floors.
I love it.
And Hatchard's up the road.
Hatchard's up the road is gorgeous. I mean, there are so many great ones. I love an independent bookshop. Where you end up if you're traveling and you end up in a little town and you find this amazing bookshop and the owner is full of recommendations for you, and it's amazing. The amazing thing about reading is you're able to communicate with someone who might have been dead for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And you can meet on the same, like they're telling you something and you get it and you like it. And it's like time travel. It's amazing.
It is exactly like that. As Anthony Horowitz always talks about portals. They're portals that you can go through. And when you were young, you had a lot of books in the house, did you? I mean, this is always very important.
We went to the library a lot.
The library.
My mum would take me to the local library, and I'd get out the maximum number of books and take them home, and then the next week we'd do it again. And that was it.
God bless your mum. All these parents who brought us all to libraries when we were but libraries are so democratic because they're free. So you were reading like the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and things like that. You're so proper young geeky sort of
100%.
But instrumental. I could never read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for a long time because I was too young. I didn't quite understand.
It's written in a very trippy way. Ken Casey I think he'd had a bit of LSD, and he was it's a stream of consciousness, certainly, and it's hard stuff.
Yeah. So James Joyce was doing it years before with Ulysses, as you know.
I haven't managed.
Neither have I, and I'm an Irishman. I'm ashamed to tell you. So when you're working on QI, what's your day to day, or how does that work?
I spent 14 years on QI. I've left now, but the idea is that every series is a letter of the alphabet. So W has been filmed, and I think the X research is going on now, and it's very exciting. And you would just have to research something that begins with W. You might research whales, or you might research the other kind of whales, or
or you go so you're constantly, your brain is constantly
You're
going.
looking for that letter all year, basically,
Wow,
and you're
that's
thinking, there's something interesting here about watermelons. All right, I'll write that down. I'll make a note of it, and then we'll see if we can turn it into a question. So, yeah, I spent 14 years very happily just squirreling away and trying to find out interesting facts. And
It
then
strikes me as a dream job, to be honest with you.
It is a dream job,
If you're a word guy,
you're just getting to find out about the world. It's like doing a funded degree in everything. You get to hand it over to amazing comedians at the end of it, and they take it away and they produce brilliant comedy. Lovely.
I was telling you that I have a framed Private Eye cover at home, which is from the time Kate and William had their first child, and there was so much fuss in the media in the UK, and I was doing a bit of work here at the time, and I saw the Private Eye cover, and it was woman has baby.
Yeah.
That's it. No pictures. So I framed it because that is...
I'm so chuffed.
It sounds simple, but I didn't do it. Somebody clever came up with that. I mean, the Private Eye, you must have so much fun putting together stories, jokes, articles, headlines, everything like that.
It's a lovely place to work. And, I have a lot of colleagues who are amazing investigative journalists. And,
as well, of course.
Have been writing about things like Lockerbie or Tainted Blood for years and decades, in fact. Amazing, deep-running investigations and injustices that they're bringing to light. And then in the middle, you get all these... dark jokes madness about the week's news, which is a bit undoing.
To be serious about it, I was doing an event recently with in the Fleet Street Festival of Ideas, and the Tainted Blood was part of. Caroline Wheeler from the Times was the journalist, but Private Eye come up for a mention there because that was important work that was done there.
It's amazing. It's an amazing place to be because these people are experts and. Journalists are, I think, often not trusted a lot, but good journalism is showing that something has been got wrong. I mean, the post office scandal was journalism. First at Computer Weekly, then at Private Eye picked up the baton. Those are ordinary people having their lives ruined by a cruel and unfair system, a faceless system. And journalism is one thing that can help to bring those stories to light and say, look, this really isn't acceptable. We got to change this.
Before we go, as somebody who does not read sci-fi, and one of my all-time favourite books is Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go, which is
such good sci-fi,
near dystopia, but it is sci-fi. I suppose it is in some ways.
Yeah, sci-fi is just you're changing anything about the world. It doesn't have to be set in space. By any means, So The Children of Men is another amazing sci-fi story.
I saw the film, but I never read the book.
Film is terrific, and the book is also just fantastic, because you're changing one thing about the world, and that's it, and then you let the consequences play out.
Okay, apart from your own work, what would you recommend to somebody who hasn't read much before to say, give this a go, you'll love it?
Oh, man, I mean, I like that kind of sort of soft sci-fi where you're changing one thing, and like hard sci-fi is all you're in space. It's the year 5 million. Everybody's a worm. quite inaccessible stuff. I read a great one called Titanium Noir last year by a writer called Nick Harkaway, who's it's set in a world where the rich have taken a drug that makes them taller, immortal, and it's really fun.
That's my homework. Yours is The Wager, David Gran. Okay. Andrew Hunter Murray, congratulations on A Beginner's Guide to Breaking and Entering. It's going to be another, I know it's a paperback version of it. It'll be a hit again in the summertime. Real pleasure to talk to you. Hopefully we'll do it again sometime.
Thank you.
Virgin Radio.